You talk too much. You reveal too much. You give them what they need to control you, your thoughts, your reactions, your rhythm. Every word you speak becomes a line on the map of your weakness. Every explanation is a surrender. You call it honesty, but in truth, it is confession under no interrogation. You speak because silence terrifies you. You think that to be silent is to disappear, but the opposite is true. Silence is not absence, it is dominance. It is the field cleared of noise, where power breathes. You do not yet understand how they study you. They listen not for truth, but for leverage. The moment you open your mouth, you tell them where to strike. Your emotions betray your flank. Your explanations uncover your supply lines. And while you think you are connecting, they are calculating. This is the first delusion of the weak, the belief that to be understood is to be safe. In reality, to be understood is to be vulnerable. The more they know, the easier it is to break you. I have watched entire empires fall because rulers could not control their tongues. A careless word at a dinner table, a boast whispered to a confidant, a confession uttered under the guise of loyalty, and suddenly, the invisible machinery of their downfall begins to turn. You do not need an army to destroy a man. You only need his voice to reveal where to aim. That is why the most dangerous force on earth is not power expressed, but power restrained. You are taught to speak, never to hold, never to observe. They told you that silence is weakness, that it means you have nothing to say, that it exposes ignorance. Lies. Silence is the cloak of kings. It is the fog that blinds your enemies and unsettles their confidence. It is the pause before the strike where others reveal their impatience, and you measure the battlefield in stillness. Every general knows, when the army grows loud, it is losing discipline. When the camp grows silent, it is preparing for war. But you crave the noise. You spill your energy trying to be heard, to be validated, to prove your significance in a chorus of fools. You reveal your plans before they take shape. You argue when you should observe. You react when you should watch. You make yourself predictable, and predictability is the death of strategy. The greatest commanders never announce the attack. They let uncertainty corrode the enemy's nerves until imagination destroys them long before the first blow. You mistake silence for submission because you have never used it as a weapon. True silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of control. It is what the predator wears before the kill. When you master silence, your every gesture, your every look becomes amplified. People start to project their fears, their guilt, their weakness onto you. They fill the void with their own insecurities. You do not need to speak. They will reveal everything trying to interpret your quiet. This is why they fear it. Not your words, your silence. Because when you refuse to explain yourself, you remove their foothold. You become unreadable. You force them into their own minds, and that is where most people lose the war. They cannot tolerate not knowing what you think. They cannot stand not controlling the narrative. Your silence is the mirror they cannot look into without seeing their own instability. And here lies the core of psychological warfare. Control is not maintained through domination, but through anticipation. Whoever controls the flow of information controls the tempo of power. You must learn to weaponize your quiet, to let your stillness distort their perception. When they cannot read you, they will reveal themselves. Watch them. Watch how discomfort drives them to overexpose, to overcommit, to self-destruct. You need only stand still while they dismantle their own position. Machiavellian strategy dictates, never show your full strength, never reveal your full intent. Let your silence act as misdirection. Let it draw the enemy closer. Blind and arrogant. The loud are always the easiest to predict their need for validation, betrays them. The silent, however, become myth. And myth is power. When your name carries weight without words, you have already conquered the room. You are not born with this control. You must train it. Every instinct will fight against it. You will want to defend yourself, to prove your worth, to explain your motives. Resist. Explanation is a leak in the vessel of power. Once you start justifying, you have already lost the frame. The one who explains submits to the one who questions. This is why the silent man rules, because he dictates the emotional rhythm of others without moving his lips. There is a reason rulers employed masks, why courtiers trained their faces not to flinch, why soldiers learned to stand in formation without trembling. Control begins with silence of the body, the discipline to remain still while chaos erupts around you. Every reaction is a signal, and signals are currency in the game of power. The less you reveal, the more they must pay to guess, and the more they guess, the more power drains from them into you. You have been conditioned to overshare. They call it transparency, communication, vulnerability, pretty words for self-exposure. They tell you it builds trust. No, it builds dependency. It binds you to the approval of others. You become addicted to being seen, until your entire existence depends on the gaze of the crowd. You are not free, you are monitored. Every thought you externalize becomes a chain. Every confession, a rope around your throat. In silence, those chains break. But silence demands strength. It demands you face the terror of being unseen, unvalidated, unacknowledged. That is why so few possess it. Because silence leaves you alone with your own mind, and most people fear that more than death. They fear the void. They fear that without words, they will vanish. But those who endure it, those who walk through that internal desert, emerge untouchable. Their stillness becomes armor. Their restraint becomes presence. They no longer need to be heard. They are felt. When I advised princes, I did not tell them to be kind. I told them to be unreadable, to speak little and observe much, to let others underestimate them, because arrogance blinds. The ruler who reveals his every intention makes himself hostage to fortune. But the one who holds his silence commands destiny. People will call him cold, distant, mysterious, and yet they will follow him. For mystery breeds fascination, and fascination breeds obedience. Look around you. The world is full of noise. People shouting opinions, defending identities, spilling secrets for approval. This chaos serves only one purpose: to distract you from your insignificance. Every word you waste feeding the noise drains you of force. Learn to withdraw it. Learn to let silence accumulate like pressure. The moment you stop explaining, you start commanding, because those who cannot control their tongue cannot command their fate. Silence is the fortress of the mind, and like any fortress, it must be guarded. Every time you react emotionally, you open the gate. Every time you argue, you send your troops outside the walls, exposing your defenses. The wise ruler lets the enemy's noise crash against the stone, exhausting itself. You conserve your strength. You wait, and when the moment comes, you strike once, decisively, without warning. That is the rhythm of power. Restraint, observation, execution. You do not win by shouting louder. You win by making others speak until they destroy their own credibility. This is why debates are illusions. They reward the performer. not the strategist. Let fools debate. You watch, you learn, you adapt. The field belongs to the silent commander who knows when to move and when to disappear. Every silence you master becomes a blade hidden beneath your calm. Your transformation begins when you realize that silence is not passivity, it is preparation. Each quiet moment is reconnaissance. You study patterns. You identify weaknesses. You gather intelligence, while others waste breath. You move unseen, unheard, until the entire battlefield belongs to you. When you speak, it will not be to convince, it will be to command. But before you can wield this power outwardly, you must conquer it within. You must silence the noise inside your own mind, the constant justifications, the rehearsed defenses, the desperate chatter of insecurity. You cannot master external silence if your inner voice still screams for validation. You must become calm enough to hear everything and react to nothing. Then your silence becomes absolute, unshakable. Untouchable. Terrifying. Do you see now what they fear? It is not your words. It is your composure, your refusal to give them access to your reactions. In your silence, they lose the illusion of control. They cannot manipulate what they cannot predict. They cannot dominate what does not respond. Your silence turns their aggression back upon them. They begin to question themselves, to implode under uncertainty. That is psychological attrition. That is war without blood. You are not fighting them with noise. You are starving them of it. Silence is the siege. Every day you refuse to react. You tighten the ring. You drain their energy while yours regenerates. Eventually, they will break the silence first out of desperation, not strength. And that is when you strike. You think silence is simple. It is not. It is the most difficult discipline of all, because it requires the annihilation of impulse, the enemy of strategy. To remain silent when provoked, when mocked, when falsely accused, that is war. And it is in that war that the weak perish. They mistake reaction for power. They mistake expression for identity. But every outburst is an admission of defeat. Every word spoken under emotion is a surrender of control. Learn this truth. Those who can provoke you, own you. They command your behavior as surely as a master commands his servant. You may tell yourself that you are defending your honor, standing up for yourself. Illusions. You are obeying them. They press a button, and you perform. They pull a string, and you move. They design the battlefield around your emotion. But when you remain silent, when you give no reaction, their power collapses. Their weapons fall useless in their hands, because silence provides no target. I once warned that men judge by their eyes more than by their hands, because everyone sees but few touch. Silence exploits this weakness. When you withdraw your words, they are left to judge by imagination alone. And imagination is a terrible enemy. It fills the void with fear. The unknown commands more power than the known. When they do not know what you think, what you plan, what you feel, they tremble beneath the weight of their own projections. They start to invent motives for you, intentions, strategies, all born from their own insecurity. In doing so, they defeat themselves. Your silence is a mirror. It shows them what they most fear to see, themselves, and that reflection corrodes them from within. They will try to break it. They will demand answers. They will provoke you to speak. They will insult you, tempt you, manipulate you, all to make you abandon your stillness. Resist. For every word you speak in defense of yourself, You pay tribute to their control. Every explanation is a coin given to your enemy. You do not explain power. You demonstrate it through restraint. The lion does not justify its roar to the sheep. The storm does not apologize for its silence before destruction. Your silence must carry that inevitability, the quiet that precedes decisive force. When they realize that you will not speak on their command, that you will not respond to their attacks, they begin to fear you. Not because you are loud, but because you are unpredictable. Fear is born in uncertainty, and silence breeds it with precision. You have been conditioned to believe that relationships require openness, constant communication, emotional transparency. This is a modern disease, a form of voluntary exposure, disguised as virtue. Connection is not built by revealing everything. It is built by creating gravity. When you are silent, people lean toward you. They fill your void with curiosity. They begin to need your attention because you do not give it freely. Your silence becomes their obsession. Understand the battlefield of human interaction. Whoever speaks first loses advantage. In every negotiation, in every argument, in every game of persuasion, the first to speak reveals his strategy. The first to fill the silence exposes his fear of it. The wise remain quiet. They let the opponent speak into the void, revealing information, emotion, weakness. You must learn to let others exhaust themselves with speech. Let them think they are winning the conversation. All the while, you gather data, their tone, their pace, their hesitation. Each is intelligence. By the time they finish speaking, you already control the outcome. When you finally choose to speak, do so like a blade swiftly, decisively, without repetition. One sentence delivered from silence strikes harder than 1,000 delivered in noise. It is not the number of words that matter, but their weight, and weight is born of restraint. If you speak little, your every word will carry consequence. If you speak endlessly, your every word becomes worthless. Observe how leaders fall. They begin with authority measured, composed, deliberate, but over time, they grow defensive. They talk more. They justify. They react. They try to manage perception rather than command it. And that is when they die not in body, but in reputation. A ruler who speaks too often becomes familiar, and familiarity breeds contempt. The people lose reverence for what they can easily understand. Mystery maintains hierarchy. Distance sustains respect. Silence enforces both. You have been told that silence isolates you. They lie. Silence does not isolate. It elevates. It places you above the noise, above the desperation of those who cannot bear to be alone with themselves. The masses drown in constant chatter because silence exposes their emptiness. They require distraction to avoid confronting their lack of substance. When you choose silence, you remove yourself from that chaos. You begin to hear what others cannot. The undercurrents of power, the hidden motives behind words, the rhythm of manipulation. Only in silence can you detect deceit, because noise conceals it. Do not mistake listening for silence. Listening is passive. Silence is active, a weapon drawn but not yet used. You must learn to hold silence like a drawn bow, waiting for the right moment to release. Every silence you maintain increases tension in the room. You can feel it, that invisible pull. People start to fidget, to fill the gap, to break under the weight of their own anxiety. You need only watch. The battlefield of conversation becomes yours without lifting a finger. In matters of confrontation, silence is supremacy. When accused, say nothing. Let your enemies speak. Let them overreach. Let their emotions expose them. The world is drawn to noise. It condemns those who appear defensive. When you remain calm, detached, unmoved, their hysteria becomes visible. They appear unstable. You appear composed. Perception becomes your armor. They destroy their own credibility, trying to destroy yours. But understand this: silence is not cowardice. It is not retreat. It is strategic withdrawal, the regrouping of your forces before counterattack. You do not respond in the moment because the moment is designed by them. You wait until you control time itself. When the silence has stretched long enough to become unbearable, you strike with action, not words. Power does not argue. Power moves. Consider every environment you inhabit: your workplace, your alliances, your family. Each is a network of observation. They are all watching, all listening, all measuring your behavior for signs of weakness. Every time you react, you reveal where you can be manipulated. Silence removes that map. They cannot find your pressure points if you show none. In time, they stop testing you. They start fearing the unpredictability of your calm. That is when you have achieved control. Machiavellian law: power flows to those who can delay response. Every reaction is a resource: your energy, your attention, your focus. Spend it too quickly, and you bankrupt yourself. Hoard it behind silence, and your reserves grow while theirs deplete. This is how you win wars of endurance, not by charging blindly, but by letting the enemy exhaust himself. In this way, silence is not only power, it is preservation. Silence is psychological armor. It protects your motives, your intentions, your emotions. But it also becomes psychological offense when you wield it deliberately. When you maintain silence in a group, you shift the dynamic. People will turn toward you for cues. They will interpret your stillness as superiority, and you must never correct them. Let them worship their own projections. Influence is not taken. It is given freely by those who need to believe. But silence without discipline is useless. You must master your body as well. Every twitch, every sigh, every glance is language. Your stillness must be absolute, deliberate, not frozen. When you sit in silence, you must project control, not discomfort. You must look like someone who knows something they do not. Confidence without noise is authority. It is why the generals who command from horseback seldom shout "the army obeys," not because of volume, but presence. This is the paradox you must understand. Silence speaks louder than speech when it comes from power. The weak man's silence is fear. The strong man's silence is strategy. The world can tell the difference. If you are silent out of insecurity, you shrink. If you are silent out of command, you expand. People will lean toward you, try to please you, seek your approval. Simply because you are not giving it, they will talk themselves into submission just to fill the emptiness your silence creates. Now imagine carrying this discipline into conflict. When insulted, you do not flinch. When challenged, you do not rush to defend yourself. When pressured, you let the silence suffocate them until they begin to question their own position. Most opponents collapse not because they are defeated, but because they cannot withstand uncertainty. You must become the embodiment of that uncertainty, a void no one can read. Yet everyone feels the gravity of silence. Creates hierarchy. The more you speak, the lower your position. Observe any room. Those at the bottom chatter. Those in the middle debate. Those at the top listen. Then speak once, and the entire room adjusts. Their words carry weight because they are rare. Your goal is to become that. Every word you utter must change the temperature of the space. To achieve that, you must starve your voice until it becomes valuable. But do not mistake silence for inaction. The silent ruler observes constantly. You study every movement, every reaction, every fracture in loyalty. Silence gives you time to plan flanking maneuvers, to anticipate betrayal, to realign alliances. You move beneath the noise like a shadow army, unseen but advancing. When you finally act, it is already too late for them. They never saw you coming, because they mistook your silence for sleep. They fear silence because they cannot control it. They cannot manipulate what does not answer. They cannot dominate what does not react. In their world of noise, silence is an anomaly, a void that exposes the fragility of their power. They thrive on being seen, being heard, being praised. When you withhold those currencies, they starve. That is the ruthless power of silence. It conquers without confrontation. You must begin practicing now. In every conversation, insert silence. Let it hang. Do not rush to fill it. Watch how people twist in discomfort, how they reveal themselves in their impatience. Every second you hold is a blade cutting deeper into their psychology. You do not win through volume. You win through void. You must learn to use silence as a formation, not merely as a habit. Think of it as a battle line, arranged, deliberate, ready. In alliances, silence is the mortar that binds or the wedge that splits. When you withhold opinion, you allow others to expose their allegiances. Watch who rushes to fill the gap in your stead. Observe what they sacrifice to gain your approval. Those who speak for you reveal their price. Those who remain guarded reveal their independence. This intelligence is priceless. Build your coalitions from this truth. You do not recruit voices, you recruit reliability. Let others talk themselves into commitment while you evaluate their cost in silence. Use silence to calibrate loyalty. A true ally will endure your quiet and reveal substance through action. A false ally will panic, overcommit, promise what he cannot deliver, or scheme to gain the favor you refuse to give freely. In that panic, his true priorities bleed out. Such men are liabilities. Remove them before their noise becomes contagious. The silent leader does not demand loyalty with speeches. He extracts it by creating scarcity of attention. People pay in deeds when words cannot buy them. In politics and diplomacy, silence is your most precise instrument of statecraft. You do not trade in promises, you trade in leverage. A statement given freely is a concession. A silence maintained is a reserve. Announce nothing until you have secured supply lines, allies, and exit routes. Let your absence of comment become a diplomatic tensor, a tension that bends others to your will. When you choose to signal, let it be by movement rather than noise, a relocation of assets, a strategic visit, a silent withdrawal from a treaty. Action speaks through consequence. Your silence amplifies it. There is also the art of the calculated absence. No general holds his men in the field forever. He withdraws to draw the enemy into terrain of disadvantage. The same applies to your presence. If you vanish from the social field, if you remove yourself from easy access, others will fight to fill the vacuum. They will advertise loyalty, compete for your ear, expose rivalries, and in that scramble, you will learn where real influence lies. Absence is not evasion. It is reconnaissance by neglect. You gather intelligence as they scramble for your favor. Silence enables controlled leaks. When the time comes to reveal information, Do not pour it, drip it. A single, well-timed revelation destabilizes rivals more effectively than a torrent of facts. Let your silence build expectation. Then, release a fragment that forces them to improvise. They will misinterpret, overreact, and commit mistakes under pressure. Remember the principle: supply lines collapse when you deny them certainty. A carefully engineered leak can sever an opponent's cohesion. Your silence beforehand ensures they cannot prepare for the specific wound. Use proxies to speak while you remain silent. A messenger can deliver outrage or concession with plausible deniability. Your silence in public preserves the mystique. Your proxies provide the noise necessary to manipulate perception. Command your narrative without contaminating it with your voice. The crowd hears the fever. You keep the map. This is chain of command. Delegate the spectacle while you keep the strategy. Those who confuse theatrics with leadership die on the stage. You, who command silence, stand backstage with the script and the dagger. Silence also functions as a filtration system for information. In any organization, the chatter will try to seduce you into action. Meetings, memos, urgent pings, all are attempts to draw you into unnecessary skirmishes. Learn to differentiate what demands an immediate volley and what can be observed. Your energy is finite. Reserve it. The attrition of attention is real. Every unnecessary response dilutes your capacity for decisive, concentrated strikes. The patient commander preserves focus. The talkative one wastes it. Remember supply lines when you are silent. Every operation depends on resources, allies, money, logistics, reputation. Silence must not be ascetic to the point of ignorance. Reconnaissance must continue. Your silence is not avoidance of information. It is the careful selection of what you consume and when. You must have eyes everywhere, reports, shadows, murmurs, but you must not be the voice that repeats everything you hear. Information should flow to you in structured channels, not as chaotic noise. This preserves clarity. You will act when the facts conspire, not when the rumor mill rages. Psychological operations thrive on silence. When you remove commentary from your side, you force opponents into projection. They will craft worst-case scenarios about your intentions. Their imaginations will build threats that do not exist, leading them to defensive postures and costly repositioning. You will profit from their misallocation of forces. The silent leader makes opponents commit to reactions that reveal strategic weaknesses. In short, make them fight shadows while you prepare for substance. Use silence to puncture hubris. A man inflated by his own talk is fragile. He depends on applause to swell. Confront him with indifference. When he seeks your recognition and you withhold it, his bravado becomes brittle. He will either overreach to win the attention or crumble under the lack of validation. Both outcomes reduce his claim to power. You do not need to destroy him with fire. Deny him oxygen, attention. Those who require constant noise are not leaders, they are performers. Silence unmasks them. In business, silence is a negotiating superweapon. Never reveal your bottom line. Never justify a price. When pressed, respond with measured quiet. Let the other side fill the silence with concessions disguised as demands. The one who blurts terms first sets the ceiling. The silent negotiator lets the opponent escalate, mistake margins, and burn resources to reach what the silent one already knew was acceptable. The market rewards those who can withhold certainty until they can convert ambiguity into profit. Public silence can be a tool of reputational warfare. When scandal erupts, the impulse is to speak and apologize. That is the weakness of democracies, the demand for immediate narrative. Resist. Let the scandal exhaust itself. Let the noise consume lesser reputations as the public thirst for novelty moves on. When you do decide to address the matter, do so with brevity, not defense. A long explanation is an admission of liability. A short, confident acknowledgement recalibrates attention. The crowd forgets the details. It remembers the character you projected in your stillness. Command respect by controlling expectations. People respect what they cannot predict. Do not bind yourself to ritualized responses. If you always answer the same, you become a puppet. Instead, cultivate patterns of silence interspersed with rare, deliberate action. The unpredictability will force people to ask permission before acting, to measure their moves against your possible silence. That hesitation in them is obedience. Habit breeds freedom in the ruled and weakness in the ruler. Disruption breeds discipline. Silence must be taught to your inner circle. If you lead, your closest lieutenants should mirror your restraint. They should not broadcast your strategies, nor seek attention on your behalf. Enforce discipline. A leak from within is more dangerous than any external noise. Create a chain of command that rewards those who hold back and punishes those who spill. Loyalty is forged through restraint. It is tested by the ability to remain quiet under pressure. Give tasks to those who can guard silence like a vault. But do not be naive about silence's danger. It can be misread as indifference. You must balance emotional coldness with presence. Silence should suggest depth, not vacancy. Let your physicality compensate. A steady gaze, a measured nod, an unhurried step. These are language without words. They communicate decision while preserving the armor of stillness. People who interpret your silence as apathy can be rallied by small, visible acts of attention, but always on your terms. Never give attention because they demand it. Give it because it serves your strategy. In asymmetric warfare, silence is the guerrilla tactic. Be patient. Strike where they are weakest. In corporate sabotage, in political subterfuge, in personal rivalry, do not rush to exposure. Let them exhaust their resources chasing decoys. Your silence is the trapdoor under their hubris. When they overextend, reveal your hand abruptly. A reorganization, a timed disclosure, a decisive move that collapses their overreach. The suddenness must be anchored by prior stillness. Without silence, your stroke lacks surprise. With it, your strike becomes decisive. Silence must extend to your digital life as well. The modern world records impulses instantly. Every post, every like, every reaction is data that maps your tendencies. Do not provide the enemy with a dataset. Curate your presence. Use proxies. Delay and abstain. Social media rewards the loud. It punishes the reserved only if they let noise dictate their moves. You will be tempted to post defenses and counters. Do not let rumor pass and let time dull its point. Your absence will frustrate the pundits and force them to invent narratives that serve your purposes by distracting from your true intentions. Finally, silence is the final test of sovereignty. Can you sit alone and not collapse into performance? The ruler who cannot endure solitude will always perform for an audience and become a slave to applause. Practice solitude until the crowd is background noise. In that solitude, you will find the clarity to plan campaigns, to map supply lines, to rehearse contingencies. Silence in solitude is your war room. From it, you will deploy moves that the noisy will never conceive of because they never permitted the space to think. Silence is not absence of life. It is the architecture of victory. Your voice is a ration, consume it sparingly. Preserve it for the moments that change the map. Let others exhaust their breath, proving points you already own. When you finally speak, let it be with the weight of a convoy, not the scatter of a caravan. When you move like a flanking force that arrives where no one expected. Let silence prepare the ground, and your action finish the campaign. You have seen how silence functions as weapon, as shield, or strategy. But until it becomes your nature, you will remain divided. A commander who cannot command himself. To master silence, you must first dismantle the internal noise that governs you. The endless chatter of fear, the compulsive urge to explain, the hunger to be seen. These are rebellions within your own ranks. Before you can command a battlefield, you must suppress this mutiny. You must become the general of your own mind. The weak man's mind is a camp in chaos. Every emotion acts like a soldier without discipline, rushing, shouting, contradicting orders. His impulses attack each other until he is exhausted by indecision. When the enemy arrives, whether insult, rejection, or loss, he is already broken, because his army was never silent. The strong man, the Machiavellian mind, runs a different command. Every thought awaits instruction. Every emotion reports, but none act without order. That is internal silence, not emptiness, but hierarchy. You achieve this by repetition. Each time you feel the surge to speak, to justify, to vent, stop. Do not suppress the thought, observe it. The distance between impulse and action is your first fortress. Expand it. Each second of delay reinforces your walls. Soon, you will realize that most of what you intended to say required no saying at all. Silence saves you from revealing strategy born of temporary emotion. It keeps your campaign intact, but you will be tested. The world despises the silent man because it cannot decode him. People will accuse you of arrogance, of coldness, of apathy. They will tell you that silence means guilt, that your restraint means you are hiding something. Let them. Their accusations are the noise of the threatened. Their discomfort is proof of your dominance. Never defend your silence. That is how you break it. Let time do what words cannot. Reveal that your restraint was calculation, not cowardice. You must understand this law. Every battle for power begins with control of perception, and perception is shaped not by truth, but by rhythm. The one who dictates when information is released, when emotion is displayed, when words are spoken, that one commands the rhythm of reality. Silence is rhythm-made weapon. You decide the tempo, they follow. You withhold to create tension. You release to create relief. The masses follow not those who speak best, but those who control tension. You must become the architect of tension itself. Consider how armies move. No commander marches without reconnaissance. Every step is measured, every supply calculated, every silence between movements filled with preparation. So it must be with your speech. Your words are not bullets, they are battalions. Each must be positioned to achieve an effect. Speak when it advances your aim. Remain silent when it strengthens your position. Never waste speech on terrain not worth holding. You must also purge sentimentality. The sentimental man speaks because he wishes to be understood. He bleeds words as proof of sincerity. But sincerity is a liability in power. It binds you to emotion, to the approval of others. The sentimental ruler cannot endure isolation, so he compensates by noise. But the strong man knows, to be misunderstood is not a curse. It is camouflage. Let them misread you. Misreading is weakness. Use their misunderstanding as fog to move unseen. Your silence must extend to your reactions. When confronted with praise, remain calm. Praise is the sweetest poison, designed to lower your guard. When confronted with insult, remain calm. Insult is the enemy's attempt to lure you out of formation. When confronted with betrayal, remain calm. Emotion is the most expensive expenditure in war. Do not waste it on theatrics. Each reaction you withhold becomes stored potential, like an arrow drawn but not yet released. The longer you hold, the more force it gathers. That is the mathematics of restraint. Now, look closely at those who rule quietly, not the figureheads, but the true operators. They speak little. They move without announcement. Their power grows in shadows because their silence prevents detection. They are neither loved nor hated for their words. They are feared for their unpredictability. When they do speak, the world listens, not because of authority alone, but because silence has starved the world into craving their voice. You must become such a figure, not a noise among noises, but the silence that frames them all. The masses do not fear power they can hear. They fear power they cannot understand. The loud tyrant is hated and eventually overthrown. The silent strategist is mythologized, misunderstood, immortalized. Untouchable. Your goal is not dominance through intimidation, but through invisibility. Control without appearing to control. Influence without declaring intention. Silence makes this possible. It is the camouflage of command. But remember, silence without direction decays into paralysis. Strategi requires timing. You must know when silence ceases to be strength and becomes hesitation. The balance is razor thin. To find it, observe the battlefield, not your emotions. Act when the environment has ripened to your advantage, not when you are provoked. Not when you are praised, but when your silence has softened the enemy's will. Strike when your calm has made them careless. In personal transformation, silence is your purification. Withdraw from those who feed on noise. Detach from the addiction of constant communication. Let absence cleanse your presence. You will notice how people attempt to pull you back messages, gossip, provocations, all designed to reinsert you into the rhythm of their chaos. Resist. Each time you do, you build a fortress inside yourself. Each moment of isolation strengthens the sovereignty of your mind. You will stop needing attention as sustenance and begin using it as currency. In this new order, your emotions become soldiers, not masters. Fear reports to you. Desire waits for instruction. Anger becomes reconnaissance, informing you of threats, but never attacking without your command. Silence is not suppression. It is discipline of hierarchy. You are no longer the victim of your internal chaos. You are its ruler. That is the first and final revolution, to silence oneself and discover authority within. Understand this too. Silence is the weapon of legacy. Words vanish, stillness endures. The loud man's name fades when his echo dies. The silent man's name grows in absence, whispered by those trying to explain his mystery. You cannot build legend with transparency. You build it with ambiguity, with the gaps that make people wonder what you are truly capable of. Leave silence behind you, and generations will fill it with reverence. Now, the transformation. You are no longer the one who explains. You are no longer the one who reacts. You are no longer the one who reveals. From this moment forward, you will move differently. You will speak as if every word costs you ground. You will treat silence as your reserve army, deployed only when victory requires it. You will let others waste their resources trying to decode you. You will let them drown in their need for clarity, while you breathe in the calm of your command. You will cultivate distance, not detachment. You will remain present but unreadable. You will make eye contact that demands without pleading. You will listen with the stillness of judgment. When others speak, you will absorb, not react. When they provoke, you will observe, not respond. When they demand explanation, you will offer none. And when the time comes, when the silence has matured into tension, you will act suddenly and decisively, with precision that silences all further questions. In that moment, they will understand too late that your silence was not emptiness, but preparation. They will realize that while they wasted their breath, you were sharpening your intent. They will call you ruthless. Let them. Ruthlessness is the courage to ignore noise and serve necessity. You will not chase validation. You will not compete for attention. You will build power quietly, layer by layer, until it becomes inevitable. When you walk through the world now, watch it differently. Listen for the noise, every complaint, every boast, every explanation, and remember that these are confessions. The loud are naked. The silent are clothed in shadow. When they ask your opinion, offer half a sentence. When they demand reaction, offer none. When they seek alliance, listen longer than they expect. Every silence you hold becomes a negotiation. Every word you delay becomes a lever. And when you do speak, when you finally break the silence, ensure that it changes the field. Let your words end arguments, not feed them. Let your speech resemble execution, not debate. Speak less often than others breathe, but when you do, let it carry the weight of inevitability. They will not interrupt. They will not contradict. They will listen. Because your silence has taught them that your voice is not noise, it is verdict. This is the final command. You will choose now between two paths. The first is the path of the pawn, the talker, the reactor, the one ruled by emotion, enslaved by the gaze of others. That path offers comfort, validation, and death without dignity. The second is the path of command, solitude, observation, self-control. It is colder, lonelier, merciless, but it is the path of sovereignty. You cannot be both free and understood. Choose power, or choose noise. If you choose power, then your transformation begins at this instant. From this moment forward, your silence is not hesitation, it is your declaration of war. Every time you hold your tongue, every time you refuse to explain, every time you endure misunderstanding, you are training your command. You are conditioning your enemies to expose themselves, your allies to respect you, and your own mind to obey. When you rise tomorrow, speak less. Listen as if gathering intelligence. Move as if unseen. And when you do speak, let it be, as I have taught, like a sword, unsheathed only to kill. Let them fear the sound of your voice, because they have learned that it follows silence. That is the rhythm of dominance, stillness, then strike, quiet, then conquest. The ruthless power of silence is not that it hides you, it remakes you. It turns you from a participant into an architect, from a reaction into a force. In silence, you are no longer one among the crowd. You are the gravity around which they orbit. You are the one they whisper about, the one they guess at, the one they fear because they cannot predict you, cannot move you, cannot own you. So hold your silence like a blade. Let them speak. Let them reveal. Let them burn their voices while you build your empire brick by quiet brick. In the end, when they are spent, when the noise has collapsed under its own weight, you will still be standing calm, unbroken, absolute. And in that silence, they will finally understand what they always feared most. You were never weak for being quiet. You were silent because you were in control. And control is the only true power.